Don't be like me and miss out for like 5 years. Watch it now.
Same.
You know what was not chill this week? Superman and Lois.
You know.
That episode was incredible, but I was not relaxed.
No.
Mm-mm.
That is not an emotion we know watching Superman and Lois.
At all. I mean, it's always so good, but there's always so much. How they fit that much story into 45 minutes of television and have it be cohesive and like consistent with what they're telling. I don't know, but the writer's room is amazing. Like, applause to them.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know we were going here so quick, but you know what? Here we are, and it's great. Like, I gasp audibly during an episode of the show more than any other show I've ever maybe watched. Like, I can think of like 3 moments where I was like, oh, during this week's episode alone. Like, it was pure insanity, and I loved it.
It was.
Yeah, they really turned up the like dials as far as all of the stories involved in it went. Because like Lois finding out about Jonathan in the same episode that Anderson like goes full rogue. There was so much packed into that, like you guys said. And they managed to juggle it all really well. Like you have a really like, of course, the family stories like are surrounding a Kryptonian drug, but like in general, you have family stories, family dramas hitting an emotional peak. At the same time, Lois is trying to be stressed out about Clark being imprisoned in the DO day with the season 1 villain. So it's like there was so much to juggle in that, and they did such a good job of it because you're right. I couldn't believe the way things ended up. I don't know if Bizarro's if that's the end of him yet. It would be sad to see him go so quickly, but it's definitely taking things in an interesting direction, particularly the end of the episode, because now I said last week, was it last week or the week before, that there are 3 potential big bads and we genuinely don't know which one will be the big bad. And now it feels like one of them has been taken off the table and we are potentially left with a team of 2 big bads now. And that one I didn't see coming because one of them was very human. One of them, while human, was directed more towards the alien side of things. So to see them come together and form this kind of unholy alliance is quite shocking. And I genuinely didn't see that coming.
I didn't either, though. I guess now in hindsight, when with the brothers teaming up and then those 2 teaming up, it makes sense as a full circle story. Um, but I was like, sir, really? We're doing this at the end of the episode? I mean, I guess, but also bring Bizarro back. Because like I was so hurt watching it because I love Bizarro. I've had an attachment to him since I was a kid, mainly because of the animated series. I've just always loved Bizarro. And so doing him like that, it was so dirty. Like, just, I need, like, I don't know her actual name, so I'm so sorry, Clark's mama, but I'm gonna call her Mama L. Like, please bring him back.
Now you've stopped. Is it Lara? I think. Don't hold me
That
to that.
sounds right.
Lara L. Yeah, I don't want Bizarro to go yet either. Not only was Tyler Hackland great as the bad guy, it was nice seeing that arc because he was so violent. Like that scene there a few weeks ago with that woman, God love her, head twisted off her shoulders. Like they went really, really full in on how like aggressive this villain was. And obviously, if you know the comics, you'll know Bizarro's not to be taken lightly, and the show certainly didn't take him lightly. But then they came around and gave him like a solid story, and you kind of rooted for him in the end, which I wasn't expecting. So to see him done so dirty by Anderson, who nobody likes, just justice for Bizarro.
Anderson needs to
Yes.
get a life. Like, dude, it's not the vibe. Go away.
I know. And I think if we were to talk about a weak point of Superman and Lois season 2, I think would be Anderson's character. Not because the actor, is that Ian Bowen, I believe,
Mhm.
isn't doing well. He's doing fantastic as Anderson, but I don't know his motivation for what he's doing, besides the fact that he really did believe that he would be working as a partner with Superman, and it just did not work out for him. And instead of figuring out how to make that work, we decided instead just to ruin his life. And that's the part I'm like, wow, perhaps more workplace communication before we completely decide to destroy someone.
Also, can I say that they had me so scared that my man, what's his name, Tal? I don't know, the brother. I thought
Oh
he was
yes.
dead for like a hot minute, and I was like, you bring him back just to take him away from me again. I was so sad. I know no one really likes him either, but I really enjoy that character.
Yeah, no, the fact they went to break right as the sun did not work for him. It was
Yeah, and
supposed
then
to
he
bring
put
him
him
back to
down on
life.
the ground, and I was like, well, I guess everyone's dead.
Yeah, exactly. Right next to dead Bizarro. And it was like they were kind of symbolized. And I think that was just written in to keep us hanging on for when it came back from commercial. Because like then he was like, oh, look, he's alive, no big deal. And I'm like, no, that's not the direction the show went. And they were making it a very big deal that it looked like he didn't come back. So I'm glad he came back too. I think we all kind of have grown attached to him, particularly this season. Although Reed just grew attached to him. Reed grew attached to him last season.
He's cute, so leave me alone.
But no,
it's more the actor than the character, but well, whatever, I'll leave it there.
I get it. I'm just like, I would rather have Bizarro. So I mean, if I could trade them, like the only reason why I wouldn't is because you love Tal so much, Reed. Other than that, I want Bizarro back.
He's fun. But I guess now he lives in Joe Goldberg's murder chamber again. Is that where he is now? In that glass box.
Yeah. I guess he'll come back at some point because they kind of teased redemption there. And that's more interesting than business suit Morgan Edge taking over the town. So I would like to see him come back someday. I know sorry, Sabrina, I kind of have grown attached to him over the years. So I would definitely like to see him come back. And it's particularly with a more interesting story like that, where you could see him redeem himself. The fact when someone redeems himself, it usually ends in their death. And Supergirl did a similar thing there, where the villain sacrificed themselves for the hero that they used to hate. So the fact that Superman and Lois refreshingly decided not to kill him off in the end, I would like to think they'll not go down that route ultimately, because we don't want him to die. We don't want him to die. So yeah, I would like to see more of him in the future, but I'm okay with him resting the character for now, because we were spoiled there. We got 2 appearances in quite close proximity. So if they want to rest him for a while and let him redeem himself off screen, go for it. But I don't think that should be the last we see of him.
Okay. I mean, I'll just be over here in the minority, but I do like what you mentioned about the way that the show sort of it sets up what you would expect and then completely turns the scene turns on its head, and it's like, oh, okay, so like, yes, he took the kryptonite for his brother, but then he didn't die, so it wasn't like, oh, we did the same tired story trope that is effective for like making people emotional, but then the story either falls flat or we just move forward and it doesn't really affect the lead. They do that a lot with Superman and Lois. Like, I know, to me, the juiciest moment of the as far as like besides of course Bitsy's acting, was when Sarah called Aubrey, the girl that she kissed at camp, because she couldn't talk to Jordan about her parents' marriage failing. And I was like, girl, you messy, but also I'm here for this conversation. And they're actually really cute. So Jordan, perhaps your days are numbered as her boyfriend. But I don't know. I'm team Sarah Aubrey if Aubrey ever comes to town.
That would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I've said Aubrey won me over by appearing on screen. I thought I wasn't sure what to make of that story because we were watching it live and as it was adapting, and it kind of felt like it was threw in there to create some conflict and then dropped completely. Whereas maybe that's why it would have worked better if you were binging it together. You can say, oh, okay, here it comes up again. So the fact now actually seeing Aubrey as a tangible, real person, and that they have a role in the story, I'm like, okay, yes, I can get on board with this. I thought the actor did a great job, and I would definitely be on board for seeing more of their scenes going forward. I don't think that's the last we've seen of them. I'm still not really sure what their end game here is with Sarah and Jordan, because season 1 made them set them up like soulmates, like there was no one else in their lives. Sarah's off-screen boyfriend was like such a thinly written character so that we wouldn't like him. And now suddenly they've introduced this other character who is also off screen. So maybe when they introduce them more going forward, it'll get more interest. I just don't know what their overall arc over here is because it's hard to follow. But again, that's the whole subverting expectations. I'm sure they're going to pull something out of the bag in the second half of the season. You're like, now I get it, because that's kind of what I felt like watching the episode this week.
Yeah, and Jordan's been kind of preoccupied with Jonathan's whole mess, which I did appreciate how that all culminated, not so much with like the million alien inhalers he was hiding for his girlfriend, but more so like the aftermath of his parents finding out. And I felt like we know he makes a lot of questionable decisions, but I felt like we could see on his face that he knew what he was doing was wrong, and he was ashamed to have disappointed his parents. I think I kind of appreciated that more so than like him continuing to be like, oh, you can't tell me what to do, and like getting more of those alien inhalers and continuing to do the wrong thing. But I appreciate how that storyline came all together. And I'm interested to see where it goes from there, because he got a talking to from Superman or Clark and Lois. I don't know. What did you guys think of that before we get it? I know you guys want to talk about the Flash.
It hurt my heart. It reminded me a lot of Tom Holland in the first Spider-Man movie for him, when he's under the brick and he's like crying because he can't lift it. One of the great things about actually casting your teenagers with actors who are around that age, even if they are adults, is that you can capture their youngness in the way you can't capture the youth of a 27-year-old who's pretending to be 15. So he looked so young in that crying moment. It was so effective because you're like, Jonathan, you keep messing up, you keep making these bad decisions, but we're also aware that you're a teenager and you're really trying to do right by your girlfriend, even if she doesn't deserve to be done right by. But I think he's specifically thinking about her home life, not necessarily anything else, and trying to protect her. I thought that was so effectively done, especially because he'd already been yelled at by Lois and now he's yelled at by Clark. And there's something about, and this might be gender specific for young men, but there's something about your father being upset with you in that sort of no nonsense, how can you do this, I'm disappointed kind of way that is really hard to like deal with.
And I think there's an extra layer there because he's trying to find out what his place is in this family with his dad and his brother. And I mean, Lois doesn't have powers, but I think he's still trying to find his footing as one of the three, I guess, men, to be weird and archaic about it, but to be the one that doesn't have those powers yet, and to be able to, for a moment, feel like you're fitting in, but you know that what you're doing to achieve that is wrong. I think it was a really great scene.
Effective.
I thought it was really powerful as well, and I thought Jordan Elsass, who plays Jonathan, did a fantastic job in, like you said, conveying that the authenticity of his emotions. Because before this, I was kind of worried about the girlfriend because she's such a thinly written character, and I was like, I don't know where to go with this. But the fact that we just saw it from his perspective this week, I thought that enhanced the overall story, because that wasn't thinly written and it wasn't thinly acted. Everything came together there on what could have fallen apart, but it didn't. Everything came together really nicely. And that scene, both the scene, first of all, Bitsy, what a performance. And then Clark's more firmer, I'm disappointed, I'm angry, this can't happen again kind of approach that really broke him in the end. Of course, it really made you feel for him. And I just thought that was like such a powerful note. I know it technically wasn't the ending scene, but let's be honest, it's the one we're all going to take away from it. I thought that was definitely a powerful note to end the episode on.
Imagine Clark coming home from a long day at work as Superman. Like we saw that day he had, he has to come home to that.
Awful. It's awful. Like, I was charged with treason and now I have to deal with whatever is going on with you in this XK. What is happening?
He was like, I carried my brother to the sun today and I'm coming home to this mess.
A day in the life of Superman.
That's what makes Superman and Lois so great, because it effectively uses like the fact that it's a superhero show and blends with a family drama. So you get to see him like go through a big battle and like his own emotional stakes, and then he has to come home to find out what his teenage son has done.
He's just dad.